Coach Deborah has a passion and purpose to assist young men, ages 15 to 24, to overcome obstacles and build their best lives. She wants to see every young man live out their potential. She has a master's degree in human services counseling, with a major in life coaching. More importantly, she is the mother of 3 boys, who are exceptional, educated, professional men. Coach Deborah believes it is better to train early, rather than need to fix later. She utilizes basic principles and God-led concepts. Sometimes the only thing a young man has is their credibility or their name. The actions they take are based on the decisions they make. Those decisions align with their choices and result in consequences. Coach Deborah can assist you if you are lost, floundering, or confused. Embrace the help and start building your best life today.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Build Your Best Life. I am super excited to have you here as always because I love Build Your Best Life. And I'm excited today because I get to have this beautiful woman of God on with me today. Mags, how are you?
I am doing great, Coach Deborah. Thank you for having me again. It's great to be here.
I'm glad you could come back. Thank you so much.
Thank
You know, all this year we are talking about reaching out. And this month we are reaching out to close the gap. There is so much going on around the world, individuals that are impacting young people day in and day out. And, you know, unfortunately, we can't control any of that stuff. It just comes up and they have to deal with it. So if they fall in those gaps, you know, what can we do? What causes some of those gaps are? What can we do to tell them, you know, if things don't work out and you feel lost, what can you do? Well, there's several things that, you know, they can do. They can pray, they can say affirmations, they can set goals, plan, have self-development, make sure that they love themselves, listen to wise counsel, be selective about the circle of people around them. There are a lot of things, but, you know, today, as I said, life happens. And so when life happens, we have to deal with it. Our topic today is my engine just blew. My engine just blew. And guess what? Vehicles are not vehicles, and big technology manufacturers are not the only one with engines. We have an engine too. Mm-hmm. We don't want our engines to blow either. So that's the engine that we're talking about today, not that car engine. We want to make sure that we're taking care of our engines and we think about things in a proactive manner. But before we get started, we want to make sure that you like, comment, and share what you see today, because we hope that it will be helpful And I know Max has been here before, but we want you to tell us, what you love to do, what you've got going on, and anything else that you would like to share with us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Coach Deborah. Well, I am Mags, born in Africa, went to school in England, now here in the US. I'm a registered nurse. I'm a neuro-linguistic practitioner. I am the founder of Women of Wisdom, the women's ministry, and also the WOW Foundation, which helps orphans and young women in Africa. I'm an entrepreneur. I like doing all sorts of things, anything. It sells, give it to me, I'll sell it, as long as there's a profit. And also, I love traveling. I met one nurse on this last assignment and I said, I work to travel. So I love traveling. I've been to Africa this year. We went on the mission trip. That was awesome. And then I went to Dubai. I went to Bali, stopped by in Singapore, which was on one of my lists. I have to go back because it was a short trip. And I'm doing a few more countries before the end of the year. So I'm just grateful to God for that. And we're going on the cruise together in a couple of weeks. So that's exciting. I'll be going to the Bahamas for the first time. So I'm excited about that. And you'll be there, Coach Deborah. So it's going to be amazing.
Yes. So glad that we can spend some more time together.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing with us.
That is awesome.
Yes. So hi, Yvonne, Peggy, Agnes, Dan. Thank you all for tuning in as we get started with My Engine Just Blew. I know, as I stated before, we got a lot of things that are going on. People attempting to do things that will prevent them from falling into the gap, because who wants to do that? And as I stated before, remember, car engines are not the only ones that blow up. A person can literally blow their minds and fall into the gap that swallows up so many. So Mags, what do you believe are the 3 most significant gaps that can blow a person's peace and quality of life?
That's a loaded question. So I moved to England when I was 18, and one thing that's stands out when you said the name Gap, and I was like, Gap. Every time you're on the underground in London, there is an announcement that comes when the train is coming that says mind the gap. Because when the train, in between the side of the tracks and the train, there's a gap. And you can easily fall. I think I've seen somebody slip their leg into the gap, and then they have to delay the whole train because they have to get people to get them out. So it's so important to mind the gap. The gaps that I am going to look at today, out of the many, are one, mental health. Our mental health is important. I think everything hangs on your mental health. If your mental health is messed up, then everything in your life is going to be messed up. You can't operate well at your job. You can't operate well at school, even in your family. I'm going to talk about relationships as well, because I think relationships will encompass things like gangs, social media perceptions. It's all to do with the relationships and the people around you. So that's my second one. And the third one I'm going to touch on today is alcohol and drug addiction. That is a big one, especially with our young people. And if those 3 are not taken care of, definitely your engine is going to blow.
All right. When you heard that, and I think those are some significant ones as well. Mental health, because that is, it's been creeping up over the past years, and our young people, I think now it keeps fluctuating between the second largest and the third largest impact of death for our young people. So it is really relevant. And we know relationships, that impacts everybody, and all different types of relationships. It can be a significant other, a parent, a friend, an associate. So all those relationships because they can have you going one way or the other. So I agree that is another large one. And then the third one, alcohol and drug abuse, because some kind of way that sometimes will impact that mental health. So those are three huge ones, I believe.
Yeah. Would you like me to expand on the?
Sure. Yes,
Sure.
most definitely.
Awesome. So I was reading the National Drug and Alcohol Facts Week of 2023 and the DHD 10 paper. It said alcohol is the most commonly used substance among young people in the US. Underage drinking is a significant public health problem in the US. Excessive drinking is responsible for more than 3,900 deaths and 225,000 years of potential life lost among young people under the age of 21 years. And then one in seven Americans reports experiencing a substance use disorder.
Wow.
So those are massive statistics that cannot be ignored.
Most definitely. And we're talking about that gap, and we sometimes wonder, well, where did they start out? Did their friends influence them? Maybe sometimes, but we know that the generations now from the millennials and younger, those are the generations that they don't necessarily obey by what you tell them. They mostly react by what they see.
Yes, and their peers.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Do you have something to say about the other two or just that one?
Yes, sure. Relationships are important. I think it's there's a saying, charity begins at home. And if children don't get a sense of identity and belonging at home, that's why they end up going to school looking for affirmation around friends, and then they end up succumbing to peer pressure so they can please their friends because they want to belong. That's how they get into gangs, because they don't have an identity by themselves. So they end up identifying with these gangs. So it's so important to have healthy relationships to help our children, whether they from a young age, to foster strong relationships, reaffirm your children, let them know from a young age they're important, they're special, they belong somewhere, so that they don't go to school and end up going off with whatever wind is passing. Affirming your children, teaching your children values from the beginning, who you are. This is what we do as the Smiths. we don't get into drugs. We don't get into all these. We don't get into gangs. So when they're called or invited to these things at school, they know, due to their strong relationship basis that they have at home, that that's not what we do, and they're not going to be taken by any wind going at school. So I think relationships are very important. The relationship parents have with their children, with their siblings, just so children have a sense of identity and belonging at home so they don't look for it outside. Mental health is important as well. If a child is depressed or a child feels insecure, that's going to impact them at school. That's going to impact them outside. So it's so important, parents, to check on your children's mental health. And if they need help, refer them for counseling, because I think sometimes we think, oh, counseling is for somebody who's disturbed. Sometimes counseling earlier on is better than counseling later on.
All right. Yes, indeed. I agree with that. That falls right into, you train a child early, then you have, so all of that stuff is kind of catching it early is better than, letting it get full-fledged or on the dangerous side where it gets to the suicide or something more dangerous. So as soon as you see those signs.
That's right.
Most definitely. And hi, Deacon Holmes. How are you this evening? Okay, most individuals know that it is essential to keep up with maintenance type items as far as their cars or some item they may have at home. They know they need to change the filters or do certain things to them, oil certain things to make sure that they keep up running condition, or make sure that that warranty is going to be validated if you've been doing the kinds of things that you need to do. And so I often wonder, okay, so why don't we think we need to, our bodies is just as important. But, often people are not diligent with their goals, their health, and their relationships. So again, why are they willing to take the time, the money? You see, even takes money on vehicles and AC units and large expensive items. So why not maintain their personal values, themselves?
I think people don't maintain their values because I think people think, as with relationships and friends, people think, oh, they're always going to be there. My friends are always going to be there. My parents are always going to be there. I lost my dad in 2010, and I was very close to him. And when my dad passed, I was there when he passed, but I was living in a different country. And the reason I actually hadn't seen him for a few years, and I kept saying, when there's enough money, when there's enough time, that's when I'm gonna go. And when he did pass, I really regretted the times that I could have gone back home to see my dad. So I think that's another thing with relationships. People think we have time, so they don't invest in relationships. They don't take time. It's so, so, so important. I cannot stress it enough. Make time for those you love. Take time out to spend time and show those people around you that you love them, because they will not always be there. Also, I think with life in general, people think I have time, so they don't pursue their goals. I'm only doing my master's now at 44, when I had an opportunity to do it when I was in England in my early 30s, because I had this thing, oh, I'll have time, I'll do it later. But now I'm kind of running against the clock because I want to have my PhD by 50. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to I have to run. And young people think, oh, there's time. Time will creep up on you. So time is not always available. So we need to have our goals. We need to have a timeline for our goals and pursue them and try and reach them within a specific time, and not just saying there is time. I'm still young.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. I agree. Peggy says make time for those that you love. So that's very important. Yes. Hi, Jocelyn. Thank you for tuning in. And that's just like, so important, that taking that time. And that's the same thing we're talking about, our young people falling into this gap. So when we see them and they're acting out of character, or there's something a little bit different, as a parent, I'm so busy, I gotta make sure that I go to work, because if I don't go to work, I'm not gonna be able to buy them, those Jordans they want. I'm not gonna be able to do this. I'm not gonna be able to do that. But their mental health, isn't that important? Them falling into some type of addiction, that's important. So those gaps that we need to try to prevent them from falling into. So sometimes, we have to set aside that time. We always talking about planning. So as we plan, we're not only planning for, hey, what is it that Deborah wants to do, but what does Deborah need to do for Dan? And my kids are adults, I still need to spend time with them because they have problems and things that they need to discuss. And then I have my grandkids as well. So we need to always make sure that when we set in those goals and planning, that we take care of all 5 areas, as Coach says. We need to include all of that.
That's correct. That's correct. And also to maximize time spent with people with positive relationships. Because if you don't spend time with positive influence, positive relationships, that's when children get involved in gangs. They end up spending time doing things that they end up being in drugs and all sorts of bad stuff if we don't maximize time with being around positive people and positive influence. So make time as parents, involve yourself in your children's hobbies and interests, and go to their games, learn what they like. If it's when they're on the PlayStation, what do you do? How does it work? Play with them so that you meet them where they're at, and then they can be able to be close to you and open up to you, not just coming to them when you're upset with them or you're angry. Why were your grades low? Why didn't you clean your room? Have a relationship outside being the disciplinarian.
All right. And
Mm-hmm.
it's funny that you mentioned that, and that I think that is so good that you said that. The PlayStation, because okay, that's not my interest. I'm not going to go in there and do that. But it was like Sunday at children's church, and I forgot what the little boy said, and I was like, "Well, we don't want to do all of that." He said he was going to draw something, and I was like, "Well, we don't want to do that because if that's all you're doing, going on that game, and you're talking about." Because I forgot what game he was talking about, but to me, it generated danger, danger, danger. It wasn't the one about what is it? The auto one. I forget. Somebody out there that got younger kids, remind me what it is. It was something. It's something auto. But anyway, but that's what I think when they were driving and bumping into people and shooting or whatever. But they were like, well, no, I played this one and this is what it does or whatever. Okay, so I'm just saying what I think. But they were able to help me to understand, well, no, no, Miss Smith, all of it's not like that. So again, it's important not to just sit back and let them do so. Even if you think it's something that's teaching them how to shoot, because that's what I said. They just teaching people how to shoot people and rob people. They no, Miss Smith. But if you think that, why would you let them just be in the room doing that? Why would you not go in there and say, well, I want to play. Let me see. What is it? What is you doing? Because they say, well, I want this game. I want that game. You go and buy it. But are we taking the time to see what you're buying?
That's right. That's so right.
Yeah. So, as individuals mature, they are responsible for their lives. So, as young ones always say, okay, it's on your parents. We trying to teach you, but as you get older, you learn right from wrong. So then it's more on you. So why do some people fail to take responsibility for the actions that have caused them to, get into a situation and the dreaded gap? It's always somebody else's fault. So what causes people to, not take responsibility?
Okay, it's an interesting topic because there's a friend of mine, we always talk about this. There's some adults that fail to take responsibility for their actions. You can find someone who's 40, 50, or 60 blaming, my dad didn't have time for me. My mom, my dad left. My mom left. I was in a room with two patients, and one of them was saying my mom left when I was 3 months, and the other one when they were 6 months, and they left me. And I'm thinking, okay, there is somebody in the same situation whose life has done so well, who have really achieved in life, and they went through the same thing. So to blame your whole life and everything that went wrong on your mother who left, yes, it impacts you. Yes, it makes, but you cannot blame everything that happened, because we have people that have made it in life that have gone through exact same thing. So I think failing to get mentorship from a young age, or even if you don't get it early on, you can change. Right now we have coaches all the way till people that are 70, 80 are getting coaches and they're getting mentorship. So I think positive role models, having positive role models, if your own parents or the people around you have nothing you emulate, or you don't want to be like them, look outside, emulate somebody who has done well or who wants to do what you want to do. Hence, it's important for us to make coaching, mentorship available. Have an accountability buddy in your goals. Okay, you want to do this. You want to play pro ball. So who am I? Who do I want to be like? Let me study how they did it. Let me see how they made it. Let me go and ask somebody who's on their way there. then you'll be on your way to who you want to be and what you want to achieve in life, instead of blaming your situations or what didn't happen or what advantages somebody had that you don't have.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If y'all have any comments, make sure that you comment, because it's all about us getting the full view of what everyone thinks, because Max has her perspective, I have mine, yours may be different, so we would love to hear from you as well, because it is so essential that we find out ways to keep our young people from falling into those gaps, or when they do fall in, that we can help them get out, overcome those obstacles, and to build their best lives. So, Max, please give our parents some suggestions, as well as others, guardians, leaders, on ways that they can connect to young men to assist them with closing these gaps. I know you mentioned the coaches and mentors, but how do they, reach out and get those connections?
Okay. Well, first of all, communication is key. With any parent, you have to have the lines of communication open with your children. Find out where they're failing. If you're unable to help them yourself, then reach out to somebody who can help. Also, no parent has all the answers. So find somebody, engage. Hey, Coach Deborah, I know you wrote an amazing book. Can you help me with this? The career coaches. So if you don't know how to guide your child in the career that they want, find a career coach who can go sit down with them and say, okay, what do you want to do? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? African parents, especially from one part of Africa, I won't say because Africa is big, but there's a part of Africa that tell their children you're either going to be a doctor or an engineer, nothing else. Maybe a lawyer, but if you got to be a doctor, and instead of finding out what is the child good at, what does the child want to be, so it's important to communicate. Find out what the child wants to do, what the child is good at, and help them in that way. If you don't have what it takes to help them, refer them to somebody. Look for people like Coach Ricardo, Coach Deborah to help you in those areas.
Awesome. Let us know if you have some ideas, but it is so important that we give our mothers. We have mothers out there with sons, and they are like, help me. I need encouragement. I need assistance. So we need to make sure that we are giving them what they need. This is what this platform is for. So if you have anything, let us have it. But, communication, that is the number one thing, because you need to start that as well early, because if you don't, when you need to have those conversations with your children, they're not going to want to talk to you. So you got to start early communicating with them, so they know that they can come to you, and you're not going to be just judging them. You're going to listen to what it is that they have to say, so you can help them. Find someone that's able to help them if you can't. But that communication is so key.
Exactly. And summer camps. I went to a Bible school in Dallas, and there were so many young people that ended up coming to Bible school because they had attended summer camp at Christ for the Nations. And a lot of them talked about how their lives were changed by that 2 weeks or that 1 week summer camp, because they met positive influence. They saw people whose lives were changed and touched by God, and being there changed their lives forever. So it's so important. I think there are some summer camps that help, whether it's boys or whatever, in their careers, help them in their character. So find such places and make sure your sons go. I know my best friend's son went to a summer camp that was very, focused on boys and teaching them how to be men. So find places like that and find the money to make it possible for your children to be in those environments, because they're very helpful.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Or a church. You can find a church
Yeah.
that has a good, strong basis on what do they call it, teens ministry or young adults. Find a church that encompasses that, because sometimes you don't have everything at home.
Right. Yeah. So your youth ministries, your young adult ministries, to help them because they're meeting with a group of their peers, and so they have those like things going on. And if they get in a group and they're comfortable, and they don't, you have the right leaders in there that they feel like they can say what they want to say, and they're not going to hear it again or whatever. That would be that's so key for them. Here is somewhere that I can talk, I can be open, I can get this out, because that's what happens when they can't communicate and tell somebody what's going on. They have to keep it inside here.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Correct.
can cause stress, anxiety, and that can lead to mental health, that can lead them to the alcohol, the drugs, or whatever. So,
That's true.
yeah. All right. This has been wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I love it. But Max, please provide our young men with some tips on being proactive and focused on making decisions that will deter adverse outcomes as they strive to build their best lives, being proactive.
Okay, that's good. There's a scripture in Habakkuk 2, verse 2 and 3 that says, write the vision and make it plain. I think it's so important for every young person to have their goals written down, or a vision board, as they would call it. Have it in your room on the wall where you see it every single day. So when you wake up, you're seeing, these are my goals. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a psychologist. I want to play pro ball. And when you wake up, you see that. When you go to sleep, you see that. So that if you spend the day at school and maybe you've been distracted and people have been trying to get you to be distracted, when you get back home, you realize, okay, I want to be a doctor, so I cannot be in gangs. I cannot have a criminal history if I want to play pro ball. So it's so important to have your goals clearly written down and look at them. I know Coach Ricardo's book has got goals that you write at the back of it. So important to have it written down and always look at it.
Right.
Have an accountability partner. I think it's so important to have somebody who you can sit down with and say, okay, so where are you at? How are you doing? Instead of you finding out you're already 25 and you haven't even got your GED. What's going on? You said you wanted to be a doctor. So an accountability partner is important. I'm a nurse, and every year we're supposed to have a health check. Everybody's supposed to have a health check to make sure that your health is on track, and also to catch any diseases early before they progress into something bad. So that's the same thing. You need to have regular checks. I now have a health coach who meets with me more regularly. How you doing? Where are we at? So it's so important to have somebody there who can help you, who can check up on you, and who you're accountable to make sure that you're on track to meeting your goals. Seek help early. If you think you're suffering from mental health, or if you think you're lacking in an area, don't wait till it's too late. A lot of young people, we've lost a lot to suicide. We've lost a lot to, they turn to drugs and alcohol because that's what helps them cope every day. So it's so important to seek help early. Social media is not a true representation of what really goes on. So I'll use myself as an example. I post the vacations, I post the cruises that we go on, but I don't post the 60 plus hour weeks that I'll be working. So you're not getting the full picture. So if you're seeing people, oh, I want to be like so and so, you don't know what goes on behind the
Right.
scenes. So don't take social media as, oh, why am I not having that kind of life? Because you're not seeing the whole picture. So it's so important. Work on your goals, seek help early, and have an accountability partner.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And we had a couple comments of people agreeing, with what you're saying, especially about writing it down, making it visible, because if it's right there looking you in the face,
Mhm.
because we can forget, but you got that, hey, I said I was going to have my project done this week. And hey, I got 2 more days in the week and I haven't started yet. I need to get on it.
That's right. That's right.
right
I'm
there.
right there.
Yep. And then you got that accountability partner. Hey. That's like I use my Chucks for Pearls and Earl sisters. Hey, we bounce things off each other. Hey sis, what are my questions? How you doing with your book? Have you done this? So
Yes.
having somebody to give you that little push, because sometimes it's like, oh my goodness, if I do one more thing today, but somebody say, hey, where are you? You're just like, okay, I can give it another hour. I'm good.
That's true.
Yeah, so those things are helpful. Okay, let's see. I see another comment. Clearly write your vision to have a positive future. Yes, this is what you want to do. Think positive, be positive, and make those positive results come out. That's wonderful.
And also, just to add, hang around like-minded people.
Yes.
Or those who inspire you. Read books, watch documentaries of the lives of the people you emulate. So I've got your book and I was looking at it. I actually bought one for my nephew who's in high school. I was like, you need to read it. So it's so important to read books. Don't just use up all your time watching Netflix, Hulu, and video games. Start good habits early. I had a wife who was complaining that my husband is always playing video games. He comes back from work and he's watching video games, doesn't help around the house, doesn't help with the kids. He says, I need to de-stress and play video games the whole night. So I don't think he learned that when he was older. He started when he was young. So it's so important to learn how to have good relationship skills and healthy boundaries. I think healthy boundaries are so important. Saying no should be part of your vocabulary. Within reason, of course. Your mom can say, wash the dishes, and you say no, because I should say no. But, within reasons, because if you've got healthy boundaries, you're able to say when they call you at school to go and do something that you should be doing, no, I'm not going to do it, and I don't have to give you an explanation. So it's so important to have healthy boundaries so you don't succumb to social pressure and gangs. Pray. So important to pray, because as no matter how young you are, you have help from the Holy Spirit. God is there to help you. So if you're in a tight position, you're at work, you're at school, there's no one there to help you, God is there. Pray, God, help me in this exam. I remember when I was in high school, I don't know, I think the studying helped more, but I would, every time before the exams, I would fast for 3 days. I would fast and pray for 3 days, but it did help because I ended up being the top of the class when I was doing my GED equivalent. But I would literally pray and fast, and I would study too. So, but it's so important to pray because God is always there to hear. Read your Bible. That is the word of God. That is life. So always make time to read the Bible and be part of a positive community like Coach Deborah's, where you meet like-minded people that will encourage you to be better.
Awesome. Yes, please read the word. But I like that praying. I mean, because you can pray anytime, anywhere, in any situation. Because when they first took prayer, well, they say they took prayer out of the schools. Like, hey, they may tell you can't pray, but they give you that test. You start praying to yourself, Our Father, which art in heaven.
Right.
They don't have to know what you're thinking or what you're saying to yourself. So pray at all times. Tell my grandbabies, hey, if you're scared, just start saying, think about Jesus, think about God. You don't have to be scared. He's there with you. He's got his arms around you. Don't be scared, okay? Yes, ma'am. Yes. I like that, Anita. God is omnipresent. That's right. He is everywhere. He is on it. Yes.
That's correct, Anita.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much. Is there anything you thought of that is a closing comment that you have for everyone, Mags?
Just I think the most important thing is be part of a positive community. Have positive people around you. Have people who you aspire to be like around you. Because if everyone around you is in gangs and those are the people you hang around, you're going to, the Bible says, bad company corrupts good character.
Yes.
So don't be like, oh, I want to be a doctor, but I'll just hang around them, because the bad character is going to rub off you as well. And then you could sometimes just being around, I think was a coach, somebody who talked about a story of a guy who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And he ended up having a criminal history, and his whole life plans and goals were affected just being around the wrong crowd. So it's so important to be around the people that you emulate to be around positive influence. Don't be around bad company, and you'll make it.
That's right. And, you know, as young people, when your parents or someone tells you, well, you know, that young person, you know, they're just not going the right way. I don't want you to be with them, hang around with them. But I've known them since I was 3, and that's my friend. Okay, they can be your friend from a distance. You can pray for them. And you try to explain to them, you know, I've been there, I've done that, I understand. And that young man, he is not listening. You know, I've tried to talk to him myself, but he's just doing some things that are not good. And if you're with him and he does something wrong, you're going to go down with him. Now, do you want to go down to the jail with him?
Exactly.
You know, I'm trying to tell you for your good. And, you know, they don't believe that. But that's one thing they really need to listen to, that, you know, they say birds of a feather. So, no, you may not have their personality. You may not have their traits, but just in their company, if they get caught doing something wrong, you're going through.
Exactly. And I listened to a lady last week who said she has young boys, or young girls as well. But she told them, in your class, who is the best one in math? Who is the best one in this? Hang around that person. So whatever subject they're failing in, find that person should be your friend. And then after class, you're like, okay, let's do this, let's do that. And that will help you. So hang around the smartest kid in class. Don't hang around the kid that plays, that fools around. Look for the children that are doing well around you. Look for the smartest kid. Hang around them and you'll be smarter too.
Right. Yes. So please, please, please make sure that you share this information. I know some people probably were busy. Some people probably don't know about Build Your Best Life. But if you could please share this information, because it is my desire to get this message out over the entire world. And when I say that, I say it from the bottom of my heart, because our young men need it. And the only way that we can get it all over the world is to communicate that to as many people as we can, because somebody knows somebody that you don't know, and that person knows somebody else, and that's the way we get it out.
That's so true.
So again, Max, thank you so much for tuning in. And everybody, please join us on Thursday for Thursday Live with Coach Deborah. And I'm going to talk about just the phase are out of control. Just the phase are out of control. So please join me on Thursday. Make sure that you check out my website, which is www.buildyourbestlife.org. Check out the blog that comes out each Monday at 10 a.m. You can check out our calendar of events so you can see the events that we have planned out for the remainder of the year. This year is going swiftly, so our Grateful Conference will be here soon, and I think that's the event that most people like during the year, so that will be coming up soon. Also, look at the products that I offer, which is coaching, consultation, speaking, webinar speaking, and you can get an autographed copy of my book, Build Your Best Life. It's about your life, your actions, and your credibility, overcoming obstacles to build your best life. And this is a good book for everybody. It will help and assist you to become so much better in so many different areas of your life. And if you like the Kindle version, you can go on Amazon.com and get your Kindle version as well. But again, thank you so much, so very, very much for tuning in today. You could have been anywhere else, so I love it that you decided to join us here on Build Your Best Life. And Mags, I know that you're doing exciting things. So bless you with everything you're doing and safe travels.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Yes. Get some relaxed time in.
We need it.
So remember, everyone, building your best life is our business. That's not a slogan. It's our commitment. I love you. Be blessed. Stay safe. I hope to see some of you on Thursday. And take it easy. Everybody be careful out there. Love you. Get back to studying, Max.
I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.